The impossible could not have happened, therefore the impossible must be possible in spite of appearances.
I'm Steph.
And I'm Ange.
We're
Nerdazons.
So we are doing Murder on the Orient Express, the 1974 version versus the newly released 2017 version. And I chose this because when you were so keen to do Death on the Nile, you didn't know that there was a remake already with Kenneth Branagh on Murder on the Orient Express. And I'm like, okay, well, we have to do that naturally. So I chose it as one of mine this year, and we will start with the 1974 version. In December 1935, when his train is stopped by deep snow, Detective Hercule Poirot is called on to solve a murder that occurred in his car the night before. I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory. I know you've got a lot to say on this one because I remember your message after you'd finished it. So would you like to enlighten me on what you thought?
I have read the book, and after re-watching the original, I was like, oh my goodness, I've actually seen this movie before. And I loved the original. When the credits came through, I was like, oh, it's, Sean Connery. Yeah, I know who that is. And then when Anthony Perkins came on the screen, I was like, oh my God, I know him. That's the guy from Psycho. How cool is that? So I was like,
there was
thanks,
actually
Ange.
quite a lot of big stars in this, and I didn't realize it until I sort of started searching because I'm like, oh, that sounds like that looks like Sean Connery. That can't be him. This looks like a B-grade film. And then I googled it, and I'm like, I was right. I should have just listened to my senses.
Yep.
And then when I saw Anthony Perkins, I'm like, oh yeah, you play the same sort of character.
Yeah, but
He does it well.
He really does. But I found that the characters were more likable in this one.
Okay.
And even Poirot was a bit more likable as well.
No, I disagree.
Really?
But continue. Let's finish all your points.
Why? Why are you making me say everything for the once?
Okay, all right. I start my rant, and okay. And I don't know if it's because I watched David Suchet and then obviously Kenneth Branagh, and these classic films I watched as a kid and I don't really remember, and I actually feel he made Poirot a bit of a joke compared to the more recent ones. Like he had that weird double chin,
neck.
the way he was standing, and I thought that's just so weird. And he didn't, like, he had a belly, but he was making it like he was really, really obese, and I couldn't stop staring at that. And I showed my partner, and I was just like, this, yeah, like it drew my attention away. And I also found he was a bit jovial, like very, very loud and very happy, and again, I think watching later versions, he's a very sort of quiet, calculated person. And this was just a very different portrayal to what I was used to seeing as Poirot.
See, I liked this one so much better because I like the fact that it was a little bit campy, and he was just more likable as a character, I think. And even them being on the train was better as well. Okay. I really, really liked this movie a lot. I'm not going to say what I think about the next one.
Okay. I have a few things, though, to mention about this one that I really liked. I loved the classic intro. Like, you just, there's something about watching a film and having, like, the names pop up and the beautiful music and, like, just a classic intro. They just don't do that anymore, really. It's always like a busy rushing scene or people walking through the city, and then they'll play names across it. It's sort of more modern, but I really like just the classic, like, orchestra music playing. And it had like a beautiful Art Deco style, which is really good. It's like that Gatsby style. So I really loved that. It always gets me in the mood for classic films.
But I also like with this movie that they told you about the murder beforehand.
I did love that intro. I really liked it. So I had a point. I'm going to kind of cross between two here. I liked the way it was done in both films because it was done unique in their own way that it
Hmm.
was impactful. So I really loved how in this one it was in black and white, and then it would free, like when the music would go boom, the black and white image would freeze and then it would turn into a newspaper clipping. That was just so cool. I just thought that was really unique to do something like
Yeah,
that. Because then you're
absolutely.
seeing the press, like you're seeing the press, sorry for cutting you off. You see the press commenting on it, but you're also seeing it happen at the same time.
Exactly. So this movie, okay, maybe because my internet was a bit poo poo, but it did take me several attempts to watch this movie. My internet did keep like just buffering all the time because yay, Australian internet. But once I did get into it, yeah, this movie was great. I genuinely liked, there wasn't really any faults to me with this movie.
There were a few things, little things that I noticed throughout, and I'm like, oh, that doesn't make sense. Like the one thing that they used in this to sort of replicate world travel, the train station scene, it just was odd. Because like
Yes,
if you look
yes.
at the random thing, like they really tried to show it was a stop that people would go to around the world. But you'll see like there's like a group of geishas and it's like you're not even anywhere really near Japan. It didn't make sense. And then you had all the sales, and I do get that. That is, you do get that in a lot of countries, but I think they tried to fit a lot on the train station platform prior
Yes,
to it.
yes.
But fun fact, they used a real locomotive in this film. And they
Really?
replicated, I think, each of the carriages as best as they could with real like trains.
Hmm.
So it wasn't like a set, which was really, really cool.
Hmm.
And also, I don't know if you noticed this. So I know you noticed Sean Connery and Anthony Perkins, but did you notice Michael York? He was Basil in Austin Powers.
That's who he was.
As soon as I saw his face, he was the one reason that sparked me to Google who was in the film, and I'm like, I know this guy's face, but I don't know like where. And yeah, he was Basil in Austin Powers.
That's who he is. I was like, he's got to be from one of the Carry On movies or something. Like, where is he from? That's it. That was
Yeah,
driving me insane.
yeah, well, yeah, yeah. Same Basil from Austin Powers.
I
I
love
do
those
have to
movies.
say, like, just on the actual storyline for this one, it was a very clean story. They didn't add unnecessary things into it. So it was very much, as the title explains, it was a murder on an Orient Express.
Hmm.
And then the film pretty much just, it's a clean straight line for the storyline, which is something I like about this one. So the murder happens, they have a quick investigation of the room, and then you're just literally interrogating the 12 people. Is one thing I have to mention. The number 12 isn't really significant in the remake at all. And this becomes like the main thing of this one, which was
Hmm.
pretty interesting. I'm not sure I really like the cheery music at the end. And again, I don't know if it's because I watched the remake more recently than I had with this one, but it just seemed like so much more upbeat. But then it just makes you feel like, oh yeah, it is a clean cut case. It's done.
So they all got justice for what had happened.
Yeah, it definitely, this version definitely has a very different tone to the remake, which I'm still not quite sure how I feel about it. I think I'd need to like probably sit and think about it a little bit more. But little things that I also noticed which were pretty cool. Did you see the like colander contraptions in the box that held the hats?
Hmm.
That was so funny. And I'm like, of course you'd have a massive suitcase just to fit like two hats on top of a thing to not get like squashed.
Squashed. Yeah,
Such a
that's right.
different time.
Ladies always have to wear hats.
Well, they were men's. It was for the gangster Ratchet. It was his hats. It's pretty cool. I really liked that. It was like attention to detail.
I've got some fun facts.
Okay, fire away.
Did you know that the 84-year-old Agatha Christie attended the movie's premiere in November 74? It was the only movie adaptation in her lifetime which that she was completely satisfied.
Wow, really?
Hmm.
That's a pretty big praise.
I know. As in Psycho 1960, Anthony Perkins plays a man who lost his mother at an early age and who has difficulties in having relationships with women.
I do have more notes to say about this one, but they are more of like a comparison. So I don't know if maybe we want to do a quick jump to the next one and then we can talk about all of them
Yeah,
as one.
absolutely. Let's do
Kind
that.
of a little bit of a fast-paced chat here. Okay, Murder on the Orient Express 2017. When a murder occurs on the train on which he's traveling, celebrated detective Hercule Poirot is recruited to solve the case. Very similar synopsis. Now, this one, you have a lot to say again. I feel like you should go first, and then I'll tell you my notes on it because I have a lot as well.
I don't know how I feel about the movie starting with a joke, with a literal joke, with the priest, the rabbi, and the...
Oh, I disagree. I actually think that intro scene was a really good idea.
And I don't like the fact that when Hercule steps in poo, that he has to step his other foot in poo to make it perfect. I did not like Poirot at all in this. I just thought his moustache was over the top. I felt like he was just cocky, not a very nice, like I just didn't like him. I felt like the writing was lazy. I felt like it was just, I had no empathy or sympathy or anything for any of the characters. I was so glad that it was Johnny Depp that was the one who died, because I'm not a huge fan of him, except for in Crybaby. That's my favourite. And, okay, fun fact for this one, that when they were filming this, they made a replica train and they actually had CGI like of the background as TVs, so people felt like they were there. I did not like the fact that it was so close, the camera work, and that I did not like it. It felt very claustrophobic for me when they were filming inside all the train and when they were doing above, and I just, nah.
Interesting. Okay.
I didn't realise that the director, who was also Poirot, directed the very first Thor movie.
Kenneth Branagh.
Yeah.
And he was in
Aussie.
Dunkirk. Yeah, he's awesome. I love Kenneth. Yeah, I disagree. I don't say it's... I personally don't think it's the best. There's definitely things that were not good in this one. The storyline was weaker, for sure. Like, the original was a consistent storyline. There were things in it that didn't need it. Like, for instance, the fight scene was not necessary.
No.
Yeah, just some of the like the breakup in the interrogations wasn't necessary. I really enjoyed this one. I think the filming was just absolutely beautiful. I think they used Malta, they used Switzerland, London, there was somewhere else, but they used a lot of different film locations for this, which I thought really added, like, it made you feel as a viewer there. I also think I really enjoyed the intro scene because it's a very big, important, pivotal scene to show you who Poirot is as a person. Like, he's a calculative person. He is super observant of things, and it shows you, like, that mini, like, little crime that he's solving really helps you see that for him as a person, that this is the type of person he is. He's particular with the things he likes. He sees the worst in people, but he can also see things that other people don't see, and he can sort of help think about how predictable people will be. And I think that's a really important scene to help you see that, because you don't really see that in the classic. Like, you don't see the detective side of him, and because he's meant to be such a renowned detective for that unique trait, it's almost like, you know, Sherlock Holmes and his, what is it, deduction. Watson. Yeah, like it's his techniques. It's showing you that about Poirot, which is something that you don't have in the original, which is something I really enjoyed in this one. It's like Monk, you know the old TV show Monk, and he had those quirks. Like, you needed to see that to understand that was him as a viewer as you watch the rest of the season, or else it wouldn't have made sense how they solve things.
Also, I went into this thinking, oh my goodness, in the original, they had such an amazing cast. In this one, they have such an amazing cast.
They got like so
Olivia
many big
Colman.
names on it.
Oh, I love Olivia Colman.
She's so great. I would love anything she's in.
Same.
They had Dame Judi Dench.
Yes.
Penelope Cruz, Michelle Pfeiffer, Johnny Depp. Who is the guy that plays...
Oh, Olaf.
Yeah, what was his name? Is it Groban or something?
Yes, Josh Groban.
Yeah,
No, that's the
I don't
singer.
know. But it has him in it. I feel really bad that I don't know his name. It was interesting to see him in a more serious role because he's always
Hmm.
played that like singing person or the kids role or happy person comedy. And it was just interesting to see him step out of his usual performances for that.
But
Um,
there was also William Dafoe. I freaking
yeah,
love William Dafoe.
yeah, he's cool. And how quickly he changed his voice
Yes, that's what I
and to go
love.
super, super gruff. Yeah, and one thing, this is a bit biased because I do like Kenneth Branagh, but when I watched this in the cinema, his eyes, oh my God, they were like crystal blue, and I was just focusing on that the whole way through the film. I was like hypnotized because his eyes were just so beautiful.
Yeah, I see. I disagree with that as well because his eyes were so blue. I was
I
like,
mean,
they're
he can't
obviously
help them. He
no,
has
but they
got
were
actually
obviously like
edited a bit,
contacts.
yes. No, he has blue eyes.
Yeah, but they were like
They were,
contacts.
I don't think they were contacts. I think it was just edited. I think it was
Oh,
like
well, yeah. And
photoshopped
I
in.
was just like, nobody's eyes are that blue. I just did not, I don't like how they overdid his mustache.
Yeah, it was a
Like,
bit
what,
much.
why? And then when they tried to do the whole thing of him putting his mustache in when he was going to bed, like,
But
I like
they
that.
did that though. Like it was in the classic. I don't see what was different about that. Like what made this one make you hate it so much when they had it in the classic one?
Because the classic one, I was like, haha, this one's campy and, like fun. And it was a whodunit. But this one, I don't know. I just did not vibe with it at all. I can't tell you why. I don't like this one. And now that's going to make me worried about Murder on the Death on the Nile.
Yeah, I mean, like it's like I think you started it in something you didn't connect and you didn't like the
No,
rest of the film.
no, I did not connect with anybody in this new one at all. I
I
was
mean, I
like,
didn't connect with any of the ones in the classic one. Like, I don't think you had enough. Like, to me, the classic one was very much a clue game. You know,
yes,
they had it in one room, the
yep,
interrogations were in that room, and it was
yep.
like, this is the piece, you listen to it, and you determine whose story doesn't line up where. And to me, it was great, but I liked the immersiveness of the second one. The storyline was not strong, so I will rate it down on that. But I still can appreciate that it was beautifully done.
It was visually, it was actually very
It
beautiful.
was very beautiful. That I
But
think that's where I liked it the most
but
because
I
the
think you're
classic one's
right
not
in
as
the fact that it was very, very sloppy writing. In the fact,
yeah.
one of my big points is when the couple that have the immunity and Poirot comes up and says, "Look, can I ask you questions?" And they said, "No, we'll waive our rights. That's fine. That's fine." Why would you do that straight away when you have immunity anyway? And then you're basically giving yourself up. Do you know what I mean? Like, I didn't like that. That to
Yeah,
me
the
came across
story
as just
was it was weaker. I do
yes.
agree the classic had a stronger story. Visually, the newer one had it was stronger visually. Yeah, I personally didn't like the whole fight scene, the shooting, like when the colonel comes in and shoots him, and then yeah, I thought that was stupid. You didn't need that. I thought the music was stunning. When you watched it in a cinema on a big screen, you could really, really see, like I said, how beautiful visually it was, but then you had the surround sound and the music really like drew you in. One thing that I mentioned earlier was that I thought the way that they told you about the case in
Mhm.
both films, I thought it was equally as good. Like I really liked how in 1970s they did a really cool, they recorded the crime, but at the same time they took stills from it to make like newspaper
Mhm.
reports. I thought that was cool. In this
Yes.
one, what I liked about it is you found out as Pryor was solving the case. So you're not going into it knowing about the case already. You're like remembering it as he's
Mhm.
remembering it because like
Mhm.
it's not going to be on his mind 24/7,
No, that's right.
and he remembers it as he finds his clues. So I thought that worked well, and I really feel that the soundtrack to this one
Mhm.
really brought the sadness out, the trauma and the depression from that
Yes.
like case. Like I feel like you really connected to how it impacted so many lives. Like because
Mhm.
in the first
Yeah.
one you just see it and it's like you understand that it was like a domino effect on a lot of people, but you don't connect as well. But I feel like the soundtrack alone helps you feel sympathy for everyone a bit more in
Yes.
the
Yes.
newer one. But yeah, there was a lot of bits and bobs they could have taken out. Wasn't necessary. It did take a long time for the murder to actually happen. I think it happens like half an hour or something into the film.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's so many big people in the film, they have to introduce all the different characters in their own way. I loved that it was filmed on different locations because it really did make you feel like you were traveling from spot to spot or you were going from port to port. I thought that was a good thing. But yeah, I'd have to say the weakest point of this one was its storyline.
I was so looking forward to this, as you know, because I was looking forward to Death on the Nile because
Yeah.
I've read that book and I like that one.
Yeah, I've listened to the book. And I really
But
like listening to the book, actually. It was really well. I
I
think
just
David
didn't
Suchet did it.
care about anybody in this new one. I did not care about anyone.
I think the
And
weakest actor of this film was Daisy
wait,
Ridley. And I
oh,
feel like she got more screen time than others. And I feel like she was the weaker one. Like she can
I
only do
was,
like two expressions, in my opinion. And it's one when she's on defensive
yep.
and like her eyes will go in and she'll be like, oh, and what's this about? Like,
Mhm.
or she'll be like really happy. And it was just a really obvious facade between the two expressions.
I was going to say Penelope Cruz was terrible.
Uh, yes and no. I'd say
I
she'd
think
be
they were
equally as
all,
bad.
I think
Even
because
Michelle
the,
Pfeiffer was a bit over the top towards the
ugh,
end. Yeah.
see, like I said, Stardust is one of my favorite all-time movies.
I
I
know,
say
love
this
her.
about all my movies, but in Stardust, when she's getting old and she can see, obviously, no, I was even going to say obviously because it's a newer movie, but they were, about the same age. I think Stardust is even older, where, when she's going from old to young, they can do that. But when she just takes her hat off and she's just got the fake hair and the brown hair, and you're just like, oh, is that it? Big reveal. Cool.
Yeah. 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 Say that they tried to put too much emphasis on each personality,
Mm-hmm.
which
Mm-hmm.
A, broke the storyline, which made it weak, and B, they didn't get enough really of each character to shine. The
Mm-hmm.
ones that I think were more believable were the ones that weren't on like screen as much. So the valet guy, like
Yes.
he just seemed like he was a valet and he just happened to be on the side. I would never have like added him into that. I think their title is the Countess and the Count. They were just
Mm-hmm.
whack, man. Like he's this really amazing dancer known all around the world, but yet he'd beat anyone up who came near. Like he has a severe anger problem.
Yeah.
Like it just didn't make any sense to me. Yeah, his character was a bit weird. Their duo didn't work, I think,
Mm-hmm.
as they did
Mm-hmm.
in the original. Michelle Pfeiffer, she was great at first, but then the more and more she'd pull out evidence, it's like, okay, but why are you only noticing these things now? It just didn't make, like, to me, it just seemed very obvious that it was being planted. This is a point I will mention. The doctor was never interrogated in the original.
No, he
So the
wasn't.
doctor wasn't part of the 12. He was part of the interrogators. So
Yes.
whereas in
Yes.
this one he did become like a suspect and he was interrogated with everyone else. So there were things that changed and also the message changed. Did you notice that? The
The one in the
message.
paper. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. So there were things that changed. I think
And I didn't like, sorry, I didn't like the fact that the others were handwritten in the old one, but these ones were cutouts like in newspapers, and it just felt
yeah.
like a ransom note, and it just felt like it was a cheap tactic.
Yeah, see, that's why I feel like that was a really cool point in the case of the original one. The reason he couldn't solve it is because it was written in each of their hands. Like,
Mm-hmm.
they each wrote one letter. That's why he couldn't figure it out. But yeah, and then the one, I'd have to say another thing, it's to do with the writing. Like, to me, I actually think the writing was terrible of the new one. But I really didn't like at the end how confused he was. Like, in the original, you can tell he was a bit conflicted, but he made his decision on what he was going to report on. But in this one, it really showed you that he was so unsure, who's the one that actually did make the final killing stab. And
Mm-hmm.
it just made you question his own techniques a little bit.
Yes.
Yeah. So to me, in my opinion, the writing was terrible of this one. Visually, it was stunning.
Mm-hmm.
Half the actors were good, and the soundtrack was amazing, which is why I went before we started recording, just for everyone else out there. I was trying to figure out what I was going to rate them because I still don't know, and it's really confusing because there are parts of each of them that I like, but there are parts of each of them that I dislike. Oh, speaking of, one thing as to why I didn't like the classic Pyro. In Pyro, you know, how I told you, he's calculating, he's observant, he pays attention to things, but he does it in a subtle way. He was so obvious in the classic when the Countess got up from dinner and stormed out, and he was just like, whoa, like he just like full on turned his head. And I'm like, that's not Pyro. Like it just, to me, it didn't seem like the character itself, and I couldn't vibe with that. Like, you know how you said there's something about this one you couldn't vibe. I couldn't vibe with that. I couldn't vibe with the way he did his double chin, things like that. And then the accent, like half the time it was Belgian, half the time it went French, sometimes it sounded English, and he just couldn't keep a consistent accent in that one.
That's another thing that I have to say about the new one is that I had to watch this with subtitles because which I'm okay with. The fact that this one, it was so hard for me to understand what he was saying because
Interesting.
it was so thick and just so put on.
I didn't have a problem with the original, the remake.
Oh, the remake, I struggled with that one.
I think you struggled with everything on that one.
Yeah, I was so excited going in this
I
thinking, oh my
didn't
goodness, it's going to
expect
be
this
so
to
good.
be, I didn't expect that to be your response to this one.
Really?
I really didn't think you would have such hate for it.
I don't know why, but I will never watch this movie again. And it's
I
actually
don't think you're
making
going to
me,
like the new one, and I think you're going to really hate it. That's my
uh,
foresight, everyone out
yeah,
there. I think you're going to hate it,
I think I'm going to dislike this one as well.
especially if you disliked Kenneth Branagh, which I loved him, so we
Mm-hmm.
disagree. I think we have a bit of a disagreement on this.
Mm-hmm.
How many movie reels out of 5 do you give both of these films?
The 1974, I'm probably going to give 3.5. I liked it. I thought it was fun. I actually like vibed with some of the characters. Yeah, I like this one. Now, the 2017, I'm going to give 1 star
Wow.
for all the
I feel
above
kind of
reasons.
hurt and attacked for my movie choice.
Sorry. I
I won't show
genuinely
you
thought I was
anything.
going to go in liking these.
Interesting. So I'm a bit conflicted with these ones. I
Hmm.
still really don't know what to, I'm not quite sure on what to write. Like I really like the remake. I feel a lot of younger people will introduce into the world of like Agatha Christie stuff a bit more because there's a little bit more for them to watch. It breaks the story up. The classic is a bit, can be a bit hard to watch and listen to for younger people. I don't think
Because
it's really their,
it's very,
you have to
lot.
listen.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
have to
it's a
listen.
lot
You
of
can't.
talking,
Yeah.
and there's not much, like it's in essentially you've just got the backdrop of one carriage cart. They all come
Mhm.
in there and they talk. Like it's just one sort of scene.
Mhm.
And I think that's a bit hard for younger people to get into. So I can appreciate where the new one, what the new one was trying to do. So, but the classic one had such a strong storyline. I think I'm gonna have to go a 3 each in their
The
own
same.
ways.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think I am like I can see where it's hard to watch the classic if you're not into that. I do like watching a lot of crime stuff, so I really liked it. I didn't vibe with Pyro in this one, so I rate it down on that. The new one, it's getting it purely because of how visually stunning and amazing the soundtrack was. And the few little things that they changed in the story were good, but it gets rated down on how weak its storyline was as well. So, yeah, I think I'm going to have to do that. This is probably one of the hardest I've had to rate.
Really?
Yeah, because like when I first thought I chose it, I knew exactly which one I was going to like. And
Hmm.
then the
And which
more
one
and
was
more
that?
I thought I was going to like the remake more, right?
Which is
And
shocking for you.
I know, I know. I usually like the classic and I thought I was going to love it. But then the more and more I sat and thought about it and I did some research on it, it's just like, you know what? It's not as good as I thought. You know, I was just perceived, I don't know, I
The
think
cast kind of made
swayed
me.
your mind a bit.
Yes, yes, that's
Yes,
right.
correct. And I think that's why I needed to really take a step back and have a good think about it. And I think that's
Mm-hmm.
why I would have to just, I think they're both good. I'd probably watch both of them again. So I'm just going to leave them at a 3. It's a middle of the bar. They both have bad things about them. They both have good things about them. But this was definitely difficult for me. I didn't think it was going to be this difficult, but it was.
Yeah, no, this was very difficult for me as well to watch.
See, the difference is as well, I hadn't listened to the book of this one. So I've only watched the 74 version
Mhm.
and the 2017. Whereas I've listened to the book already on Death on the Nile, and I haven't watched the classic, but I have a feeling it's not going to be as impactful for me anymore. Because like
Mhm.
I hadn't read the Book of Murder on the Orient Express, and I watched it as a kid, went way over my head. Like I'm thinking I was like 7, so
Yeah.
I'm not gonna know what happened. So when I watched the remake, I wasn't expecting all of them to be the killers because I
Mhm.
didn't really know the story, and I think that's why I was
Mhm.
just like, oh my God, what? Like it was
Mhm.
just I think that's why I vibed with it. But then
Yeah.
after watching it again and having to sit back and it's like, hang on, it's not as good as it was that I thought. So
Yeah.
yeah, that was probably a bit of a downer for everyone, that one.
I know. I know. Sorry.
Anyway, but I think everyone should just watch it and think of their own. And I think people vibe differently with crime stuff. Like I love watching crime stuff. When I'm supposed to be watching our movies to be
Mhm.
recording, I'm watching like my crime shows. I
Yeah.
binged last year the entire like 22 seasons of Midsummer
Okay.
Murders.
You told us already.
I know,
I
I
thought you were going to
freaking
say
love that.
Father Brown.
I've nearly finished Father Brown. I've got like 4
Oh my,
episodes and then I'm up to date. And then I've just started Endeavour, which is like a younger version of Inspector Morse. So I love
that's
my crime.
awesome. Hello, 90-year-old Edge.
When I told my friends, I met a few friends from the UK and before they left, but when I told them, I'm like, they laughed and they're like, it's not like old people watch it. I'm like, well, I freaking love it, okay? But anyway, okay, Steph, what do you
Mhm.
think the 1974 version of Murder on the Orient Express got?
I have no idea. I'm just going to go with the year 19. I think it got 74%.
Nope,
Higher or lower?
higher,
93%.
close. It got,
94.
no, it got 90%.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, like I'm really shocked.
Yeah, same.
What do
Yeah,
you
no,
think?
I'm happy with that.
I mean, I probably wouldn't have gone as high.
Look, Lily,
Yeah.
I didn't.
Yeah. I would have probably made that one about average as well to me. I think. What do you think the 2017 one got?
54%.
Higher. Not by
No.
much.
62%.
Close. It got 60.
Oh,
So there was a
yeah.
30% difference. Like you can clearly tell there's a difference between the two. Like I said, I think I was swayed because I really do like Kenneth Branagh. You know, the opening scene was just so stunning for me. But then the more I sat back and thought about it, it's like, oh, I don't think it's as good as
Mm-mm.
you think it is. So I definitely I would still watch both. I wouldn't not watch them.
Mm.
But definitely let us know
No,
what you guys think. I think we're very conflicted on this one. So
I think we are. Like, this is the first time we've ever been, like, completely conflicted.
this is the first time I'm actually confused. Like
Mhm.
usually I know exactly which one I like, and this one the more I lean to one, then I sit back and think, oh, but the other one did this so much better, and then I'm like, oh no, but I really like this about that one, and even I myself cannot be definite in
100%
my
go with
answer.
your,
Yeah,
yeah,
I've
yeah.
never been like that with a film before. It's crazy.
This is interesting. Absolutely.
I think this has become one of our interesting episodes for sure. Shall we move on to
Nerdazon's Nerdy Notables.
Nerdy notables. Oh my goodness. How did we not even discuss this last episode? Doctor Who,
I
the
know,
Christmas special.
right? Okay,
Ah,
I'm gonna say it. Yaz was the one companion I wanted gone.
yeah, I
And the
wasn't a
fact that
fan of
she's
her.
towards like the whole last season, she got really annoying for me. Like questioning the doctor and, keeping tabs on her a little bit. I didn't like that about her. I really didn't. And then you can see how crazy she got by sleeping in the TARDIS and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I didn't, I
I
just
liked Graham, but I'm glad
really
that he's
loved him
gone.
too. But yeah, I read up why. That they said that
But-
the filming were really, really strenuous. Like it was 16-hour days of filming and he couldn't keep up with it. So he left because of that. And I really liked that he left when his grandson left because I think that they need to be together. The great thing I loved about them too was their journey into becoming a family. And it made sense for him to go at the same time. I really wish Yaz had gone. There will be, I read up, there is going to be another companion released.
A white male.
Okay. It
Yeah.
sounds like it's going to be very much like if you watch classic Doctor Who, like randomly one will drop off and then halfway through a season another one companion will be picked up somewhere in a random spot of time or country or whatever. So I feel like they're going to be doing something a bit like that.
But Captain Jack's back. Captain Jack's back. That made me so
I
happy as
think he was
well.
only back for that one episode.
I know, but that made me happy.
I love how he kept mentioning Gwen.
I know. That was beautiful. And it made me so happy. And at the end, when Graham and
Ryan Sinclair.
So when like Graham left with Ryan, I thought that was so beautiful when he was teaching him how to ride the bike, and then
I
his
know.
mum was there
Grandma.
at the end. Yeah. Oh,
I
that's right,
know.
grandmother.
Yeah,
But
and
but
I actually thought he was really strong in that episode, even though he didn't really like do anything
Ryan
outstanding with his
or Graham?
acting. Ryan, like I actually think his character development was really good. Like he realized having that time at home just what he missed. And I think that was really important because like sometimes you sit there and think like I think they even mentioned it like when Amy was there, it's like every time they come back they look older and things like that, and it's like how long were you gone? It's like you forget just what you miss back home. And I think it was needed because you
I
can't
just
stay
think
forever.
that it's a terrible writing, which makes me not like her as the Doctor, but I'm liking her a little bit better now. But I think everybody's just iffy is because of the writing.
She
Did you?
had such a groundbreaking season one, and
Mm,
then it's like I really liked some of the. I remember when we were watching together season one. After certain episodes, you and I were messaging, and it's like they were really good messages, but
mm,
now it's too much. Like we watch Doctor Who to escape,
mhm.
modern day
Yes, yes.
reality. We want to see space and time. We want to see the aliens and we want to see all that. And then they just like lost that and they really started ramming a lot of like modern day problems down people's faces. And I feel like that's where they lost it. Like they had a few good key points in season one. And then if
Yes.
they had just left it at that instead of continuing to do that throughout her
And
seasons,
I hate that they've changed the Doctor Who law about how she became a doctor.
yeah, me and my partner did not like that. You've practically rewritten the entire thing. Like you've changed the entire series itself by
Yep.
doing that.
Yep.
Yeah. And I
And
even
fans are
questioned him
annoyed.
and I'm like how does the master keep up with her then? Because the
That
master has definitely got he or she has definitely used their 12 lives. How does the master keep up with her?
time it's just wibbly wobbly, timey wimey stuff.
It's stupid saying that she's unlimited and every other Time Lord like is capped at 12. It doesn't make sense.
But did you notice that when she was in prison, that they heard the four knocks,
I
just
didn't hear
like
that.
well, there was four knocks, and then she put her head up against the
No,
window
that
when she
was
was in prison.
Barrowman.
No, that wasn't. Was it?
Yes, that was. It was in the cell next door because then that's when she went into the running yard or
Ah,
square. She
because
saw him. He was knocking
yeah,
to say, "Hey, I'm breaking you out."
because do you know what I thought it
Because
was?
he even said it took him like 19 years to get
Yeah.
put in the cell next to her.
Well, that makes way more sense. But I was like, oh my gosh, four knocks. That means that she's gonna, regenerate because of the four knocks, four heartbeat. But
Yeah.
this is definitely going to be her last season.
Yeah, she has announced it. She said she wanted to stick to the three like everyone else, but I just
Mm.
think she must know as well that they've lost lot of views. Like they have gone downhill since she first came in.
Which sucks because this is such a huge thing to finally have a female doctor.
Yep.
But I just think straight away after having a female master, you can't go straight into a female doctor. I mean, feminist in me is like, no, that's how it should be, blah, blah, blah. But
It was just
nerds
copying.
are stuck in their own way, and that they
Yeah.
have and that I think we should have gone maybe one more male doctor and then moved into a female doctor,
Mm.
because having female Missy and then having the female doctor just put to me, there's a lot of dudes that I know that watch Doctor Who and that they just like, oh, women are nothing kind of thing, and I think that also tampered with the views.
Oh, for sure. Like I think as soon as they announced it, they lost a lot of male fans purely because they didn't want it. Like and I don't think that that's fair. They didn't
Hmm.
really give her a good shot. But I mean, like, we gave her a go. Her first season was great-ish, and then
Mhm.
it just went down. And I think she knows it, and that's why I think they're all dropping like
But
flies
one
as
of my
well.
mates, I was saying, oh, I can't wait, Doctor Who's on. And my mate's like, nah, I won't watch it. She's a female. Nah, can't do it. And I'm like, but why? And she's like, nah, it's not how it should be.
Yeah, well, even Billie Piper didn't want a female doctor. Remember when
I
we
hear
went
that.
to one of the conventions
The
and she
Adelaide
said,
convention, and I asked
yeah,
that question, and you were in the audience, and I didn't even know that.
I know, how crazy is that? That was like literally months before we met.
I know, that's
Yeah.
mental.
I reckon, I said to my partner, I said, I reckon if they had have done Agent Carter
Hmm.
from Captain America, if they had have got her, I reckon it would have been done
Hayley
differently.
Atwell.
Yeah, I don't, it's just interesting. But we
But
were talking, do you think that,
people want Phoebe Waller-Bridge to be Doctor. Fleabag. She's the creator of.
no, I'm sorry, no.
Oh,
I like her, but I just don't,
no.
she hasn't got the like tone for it. Like she should stick to comedy. But we were talking, do you reckon, you know how she came across her future female self
Mm,
in the series? Do you reckon she's going to be the next one? I kind of really don't want that.
no. Do you
She
know
was
who?
just too like abrasive as a doctor, like with a gun and weapons, and just
Do you know
didn't think.
who I want to be Doctor
I'm on.
more than anybody?
Okay, you go, and then I'll tell you who I want to be the doctor.
Richard Ayoade.
Oh my God, yes, I love him.
Yeah.
But I really want. Did you ever watch iZombie?
Yes.
You know the like Pommy mortician guy?
Oh,
He would
he.
be perfect as the doctor.
Yes. Oh, he's also good, but sorry, Richard to
Yeah,
me.
I think Richard Ayoade would never do it. Like
Mm-mm.
he's too big an actor and the things he does is too different. Like I don't think he would do it. Whereas I think iZombie, yeah, he'd be perfect. But anyway, oh, it's Raoul Coley.
Riley
That's
would make a great
his name
Doctor.
is Raoul.
Next month, no,
Next
sorry, I keep saying next month,
fortnight.
but next
I know.
fortnight is my choice. So we're doing the Craft versus the new one, Craft Legacy. Can't wait for that one. If you like us, please follow us on Instagram and Facebook, and you can listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever you get your podcasts from. And we'd love to hear from you if you want to send us an email at nerdazons@outlook.com.
Bye for now.
Bye.